What is up, everyone? This is Ellibod here. Welcome to the Ellibods Sports Network, and I said I would do it, so I'm doing it. My championship prediction. And I'm not going to go any further than the championship. I'm not going to do League 1 or League 2. But, yep, I did one for the Prem. And now here I go for the championship. Oh boy, this is going to be weird. So again, I am going to have my 2-place caveat, and just to remind you everyone, if I get the prediction spot on, 5 points. If I'm 1 place out, 3 points. If I'm 2 places out, 1 point. Any further than that, it is an incorrect prediction. So, 24th, you got lucky last season. It's not going to happen this season. Luton Town were lucky to survive last season, but I don't think it's going to happen this season. I think the feel-good factor from League 1 has started to evaporate. It started to evaporate midway through last season, and I reckon it's going to continue to. I reckon you'll be back down in League 1 by 2021. That was the stupidest laugh I think I've ever done. 23rd, Rotherham United. Who are you? I wasn't even aware Rotherham had a team at first. And then I looked them up and it's all like, oh wait, you got promoted last season. Like, what the fuck? But, okay, you got promoted. You're going straight back down. I don't see it being any different. Maybe you'll become a yo-yo club a bit like West Brom. 22nd, for God's sake, you've already had points deducted. Normally that is a death sentence if there ever was one. Sheffield Wednesday. I was once asked about my availability to manage a football team in Sheffield. I said I can't manage Wednesday. There you go, I had to get the joke in there. But you've been deducted points at the beginning of the season. Again, that's a death sentence. Just look at what happened with Macclesfield in League 2 last season. Which, by the way, let me just quickly get this off my chest. How the fuck are Stevenage still in League 2? I'm sorry, no! You got relegated! You came last season, but only because of these decisions by the FA to deduct Macclesfield points. That's the only reason you're still in League 2 and still allowed to compete in the League Cup. And can I just say, thank God Portsmouth knocked you out. How can you be 3-1 up and still conspire to lose? Well, I got really off track on that one. But yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, probably going to get relegated. 21st. This is the football club I love saying the name of, because you can't say it without going into a slight northern accent. Barnsley. You scraped by last season simply by virtue of Wigan being financially reckless. And I reckon that the points deduction to Sheffield Wednesday will be the reason that you will stay up this season as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I actually do like Barnsley Football Club. I think they're actually very, I think at times they can be fun to watch. But I just don't think you're going to get much advancement. If any at all. 20th, Wycombe Wanderers. I had to remind myself that you existed. The fact that you're that forgettable is not a good sign. Yeah, again, you're one of those clubs that's coming up, but I don't think you're really going to make much advancement. You'll probably survive, but that's it. 19th, Preston North End. This seems to be a up and down club in every single definition. You think that things are going to be going brilliantly for you, and then they just don't. And you think things are going to be awful for you, and then they turn out brilliant. I think this season is going to be somewhat like that. You think that things are going to be starting to go on the up and up, but it's then going to disintegrate. Yeah, that's really all I can say. 18th. Oh. Another club where the owners are strangling the life out of you, and I really think you are a club that deserves to be in the Prem. But as long as you have these owners, you're going to be nowhere near it. Blackburn Rovers. What the fuck has happened to this club? I mean, this is a club that should be challenging for the top of the Championship, and they are not going to as long as you have the owners that you have. And that's just sad. I mean, I'd love to see Blackburn up in the Prem, but it's probably not going to happen. Yep, 18th. 17th, Birmingham. Again, this is a club that really should be doing a lot more, and you're not. And all the meanwhile, you're watching Aston Villa, your local rivals, actually survive in the Prem while you're scraping at the near bottom of the Championship. I'm sorry, the Steel City belongs to Aston Villa at the moment. You lot need to seriously take a look at yourselves in the mirror. 16th, Coventry City. Coventry winning League One last season and winning it reasonably convincingly. I'm just looking down at my notes on here. Yeah, I have to keep notes of everything. But yeah, Coventry won League One last season by about 5 points, so I reckon they will be doing everything in their power to stay in the Championship. And possibly start to build a foundation to fight to get into the Premiership. But we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, I reckon Coventry will stay up with a pretty convincing showing. 15th, Reading. Reading are an oddball in the Championship. Again, sort of like what I was saying with Preston North End. They think everything's going to go brilliantly and then it just flops, or they think everything's going to go terribly and it ends up being pretty good. Reading are like that, and it's not going to change this season. The inconsistencies are pretty awful. You need to build a solid foundation. You need to get in a squad of players that mesh well together, and everyone knows the strengths and weaknesses and how to balance that all out and get a level of consistency. Until you do that, you're going nowhere near the Prem. 14th, Huddersfield Town. I still remember when these lot were in the Premier League and how crap they were then, and they've just been on the fall from grace since. They kind of remind me of Derby County in a weird way, when they were up in the Prem and got humiliated, then just floundered in the middle of the Championship. Huddersfield Town are basically that. And I don't see it going any further. 13th, I have Middlesbrough. This was a club that should have done a lot more last season, and you failed miserably. But I reckon you will build on last season, but not by a lot. 13th, I think. Again, similar with Reading, you need to find yourself a proper foundation of consistency. Because otherwise, you're going to be ranging from trying to fight for promotion to ending up near the relegation zone, and one day you might end up getting relegated, and if that happens, your club will be on a meteoric downfall. Consistency, please, Middlesbrough. 12th, this is another club that's sort of I can't really pin them down really as a club, but they are the sort of mid-table fodder at the moment, and that is Stoke. There's nothing that screams out at me but Stoke will go up, but there's nothing that's screaming at me either but they're going to go down. So I'm going to go with mid-table in the Championship, which is nothing to be ashamed of. If you can at least keep that foundation, you can build on that and eventually come back up to the Prem with a bit of practice. But I just want to see some of it first. see some of that big noise coming from your club. 11th, yeah, this is a bit of a weird one, but there's always one club in the Premier League last season that you know is just destined not to come back up, and that is Bournemouth. Everything at your club seems to be falling apart at the seams, and it's already leading to a mass exodus of people. So what do you want me to say? You're not coming back up to the Prem. You're not going down, but you're not coming back up either. Here we go, top 10 time. 10th, Bristol City. This is a club that aspires for so much more than it has at the moment, and I think that's a very good thing for Bristol City. If they can keep that sort of mentality, then, you know, it could be, but sky's the limit. But there's still a lot that needs to be done in terms of building the foundations at the club, at Bristol. There needs to be something, I don't know, it's just what you need is just one, like, former Premier League player who can bring the standard up of the rest of the team, and you could end up getting into big things. I think your club is good, but I don't think any higher than 10th. Again, 2-place caveat, you may come 8th, but yeah, that's probably it. 9th, this club is going to start falling again. Derby County. You had a pretty solid manager. A quote, born winner. How'd that work out? I just don't think Derby are ever going to come back up to the Premier League, even if they bring in like these big players. Like, I know they've got Rooney on their books now, and that's alright, but he's kind of washed up and past it. So I don't see Derby any higher than 9th. They're certainly not coming back up to the Prem. That would be, I mean, I'll laugh heavy if that happens. 8th, Swansea City. This is a club that seems to be wildly inconsistent. I mean, even the Irish guy predicted them to finish 21st last season, and they ended up in the playoffs. But I think this year things are going to start to go a bit south for you. I reckon you'll still have it good, but not good enough. And speaking of Wales, 7th, Cardiff City. Another club that seems to fluctuate between whether they're going up or whether they're staying in the Championship. Again, there's just, I think there's too many problems right now with what Cardiff should be as a football club. You need something a bit more solid. Again, it goes back to what I've been saying about a couple of other teams. Get a foundation, get some consistency. Cardiff are basically that. Like Middlesbrough and Preston, and Stoke, and Birmingham, and a lot of the other teams in here. But at least Cardiff do have some good players. So 7th. Right then, time for the playoff positions. 6th, I'm going with Millwall. Millwall have made a very good rise over the seasons, from nearly getting relegated to ending up in 8th, so I reckon they will continue that rise and make the playoffs. I'll tell you what, wouldn't that be something if Millwall get promoted and West Ham stay up? West Ham and Millwall in the Prem. That will be pretty dang sick. And I'm very certain there will be a lot of the fans throwing sick at one another in those matches. And I'll tell you what, Sky may not like it, but that will make for some good TV viewing. So yeah, I think Millwall are going to make the playoffs this season. Whether or not they win, probably not, but I think it would be cool if they did. 5th, QPR. There was suddenly a lot of talk about QPR a couple of weeks back with the acquisition of a pretty big signing from the Scottish Premier League. So everyone started bigging up Queen's Park Rangers. But again, you're Queen's Park Rangers. If you are coming up, it's through the playoffs. The idea of you being directly promoted, I think, is just too weird a concept. So, I think it will be a good season for QPR though. 5th place. 4th, another one of the Premier League teams that came down. There's usually a pattern with them. One that just stays in the Championship, one that tries to come up through the playoffs, and one team that gets directly promoted. I'll get to that in a moment. But 4th, I'm going with Norwich. Norwich's fall in the Premier League last season was pretty catastrophic, and I think that there is going to be some pretty serious changes needed at Norwich City. But yeah, I think you're going to have it pretty good. Like I've said, I've put you in 4th, so playoffs at least. You may end up, again with my 2-place caveat, you may come 2nd, but I think 4th is realistic. 3rd place. It was so sad you missing out on the playoffs last season, on that last day meltdown. But I think this year you're going to make the playoffs proper this time. Nottingham Forest. It is about time that this club started to really start contending for things. Really start making those big moves back to the Prem. I mean, for God's sake, do we have to revive the ghost of Brian Clough and start haunting the ground until you start winning some games? And stop throwing away games in the way that you did against Stoke last season? If that's what's got to be done, that's what's got to be done. But I reckon it is going to be a very good playoff position for you this season. So, the top 2 now, coming back up to the Premier League directly. Again, there's always one Premier League team that does come straight back up, and I reckon it's going to be Watford. So I'm going with Watford in 2nd place. This is a club that is desperate and determined to be a Premier League mainstay, and that's the reason why I'm going with them for 2nd, because I think they're just going to be so much more eager than Norwich or Bournemouth to get back to the Premier League. And so, 1st place, winning the Championship this season after everything that went on last season. You've got to win it this year. Brentford. After the playoff meltdown last season in the final against Fulham, you've got to win it this season. I think it's going to be very similar to Leeds United, losing in the playoffs, only to shoot up and win the Championship next season. I think Brentford are going to have that this season. I will say this though, regarding Brentford, it has to be this season. If you don't come up this season, then you're never coming up. You will flounder forever as a Championship team and then eventually be relegated to League One if you do not get promoted this season. Consider that my curse to you. Get promoted or never see promotion. Well, I ended that in a bit of a dark one. So there you go, there is my prediction for the Championship this season. I await your criticism and hatred in the comment section below. I await you all telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about. Well, we'll see when my reaction video comes out if I do know what I'm talking about. But this should be pretty interesting. I mean, the Championship is one of the hardest leagues to predict, so I wouldn't be surprised if I get every single one on here wrong, but we'll have to wait and see what happens. Okay, so who are the teams you think I'm overrating? Who are the teams you think I'm underrating? Who are the teams that I'm being too nice to? Who are the teams I'm being too nasty to? Let me know in the comment section below. And,